Lane Kiffin, will he ever win a national championship? Probably not. But he will always be fun to talk about. He was Tennessee's head coach when the Vols were recruiting A.J. McCarron. Now, I covered this team at the time. I didn't know they were in on A.J. McCarron, but the battle for him was pretty strong. Tell this story about a future head coach in Jeremy Pruitt, because this is pretty classic.
Yes, this is actually hilarious. And nothing about this will surprise anybody. So, AJ McCarron was telling the story about his recruitment, and he was talking about Nick Saban apparently reportedly told Jeremy Pruitt. By the way, at the time, Jeremy Pruitt was an off-field staff member. He hadn't even become promoted to head coach at the time, or not head coach, defensive backs coach. This year, he was the director of player development. That's the role he held from 2007 to 2009. Nick Saban sent Jeremy Pruitt to watch A.J. McCarron's house. I mean, stake outside of A.J. McCarron's house, because he was worried that Tennessee would try to swoop in and get him at the last minute. Now, Lane Kiffin, A.J. McCarron committed in February of 2009. Lane Kiffin was hired in December of 2008. As you know, Dave, Lane Kiffin made a lot of last-minute pushes for recruits that year, during those 2 months, didn't he, for his first signing class? And
yeah, he made a lot of pushes and offered a lot of sketchy, questionable scholarships to sketchy players.
Yes. So one of the things he went after hard was A.J. McCarron. Well, that's why Saban knew what Lane Kiffin was doing, and he put Pruitt to stake out A.J. McCarron to make sure Lane Kiffin didn't come and swoop him up. By the way, automatically, that shows the respect Nick Saban had for Lane Kiffin, the recruiter, at age 33 in 2009, that he would worry about losing A.J. McCarron to Tennessee. But then Saban, it turns out A.J. McCarron woke up one morning and Lane Kiffin, Lance Thompson, and the entire Tennessee football staff was outside his house. They banged on his window to try to get to him. That's how committed they were to getting A.J. McCarron. They banged on his window outside his staff. Nick Saban was mad and was like, why the heck was Jeremy Pruitt not there trying to make contact with him too? And Jeremy Pruitt said, I'm sitting outside of McCarron's house. And Nick Saban, according to McCarron, said, no, the hell you're not. Tennessee just left his house. And Pruitt said, nobody's left the house or shown up. But he decided to go check. He knocked on the door, and a little old lady answered. And it turns out Jeremy Pruitt was staking out the wrong house. And
wow.
Yes.
How in the world could you be at the wrong house in recruiting? And there was GPS at the time. Not like
yes, there was GPS.
Because I'm older than you. I remember pre-GPS when you'd get directions from somebody and you just would 50% of the time end up lost. But there was GPS. I mean, how in the world could you go? And you've got a file, surely to goodness, that a sort of recruiting aide gave you with the exact address on it.
Yes, exactly. So it is insane. It's insane that this happened. And I don't know what story's more insane. How aggressively Lane Kiffin recruited A.J. McCarron, or how dumb Jeremy Pruitt was in trying to like stake out his house. Which one is wilder, Dave?
Well, if you start a sentence with how dumb Jeremy Pruitt is, then that's going to be the more applicable and the latter. So that any sentence, if you say the sun's hot or Jeremy Pruitt is dumber, it's the latter.
Okay.
It's always
the latter. Fine, but what's a more shocking story to you? Given what you know about Jeremy Pruitt and Lane Kiffin, which one's more shocking? Lane Kiffin being that aggressive in recruiting, or Jeremy Pruitt being that dumb? Neither surprises you, probably, given what you know about both of them.
I'll a coin flip, honestly. I mean, I hate to sidestep the question, but literally 50-50.
So
because you might have to remember, Lane is thinking to himself, "This is my shot." I mean, he was going to go to Washington before Tennessee offered him. He had been at Oakland where Al Davis didn't work out. I mean, if I'm him and his age, how old was he approximately?
Lane Kiffin was 33 at the time.
Okay. If I'm him, even though I'm young, I'm thinking this is my shot. So I'm going to be super aggressive. So if you make me pick between the two, I would probably say that. But Jeremy Pruitt being dumb and at the wrong house is pretty embarrassing.
It is. And apparently You're right. Even if you don't have GPS, you can see the address once you get there, right? Like, so like that's still like, did he never learn how to read a map? So now okay. What do you make of the argument that Lane Kiffin was just trying? He just knew about the type of women AJ McCarron dated?
I think it was probably AJ's mom.
It's probably
Would be
okay. AJ's mom she's kind of hot, isn't she?
I have no idea. I'm just saying that she's probably a little bit more the age group. Surely to goodness he wasn't trying to steal AJ's girlfriends.
I mean, he was waiting until AJ's girlfriend was a year older.
Legal.
What was it? That same year, a great song by the Young Money Crew led by Lil Wayne came out called How They Are Into Every Girl in the World. And I'm not going to use the vulgar language, but at one point, one of the people in the song says, in about 3 years, holler at me, Miley Cyrus. I kid you not. Someone said that in the song. That was Lane Kiffin. That's how Lane Kiffin lived by. And he was like, in about a year, holler at me, AJ McCarron's girlfriend. And so, I mean, you know, but
let me do my Brent Musburger impression for a minute.
Okay.
AJ's girlfriend. Wow. Yeah, I'd like to, you know what I mean. That's my impression. Do you remember that in the national championship?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was like, that was one of the weirdest things. The thing I remember the most is after Alabama lost to Auburn during the Kick 6 game. That's my favorite moment in college football. AJ McCarron didn't even walk off with his teammates. He went over to go hug his girlfriend, his hot girlfriend, for the cameras. And I'm like, I never liked AJ McCarron. I think he always thought he was above the rest of the Alabama football team. When in reality, he was just a game manager the whole time. But yeah, it's kind of funny. So AJ McCarron, I will say, let me ask this though. Okay, let's do a hypothetical. Say Lane Kiffin stays at Tennessee and lands AJ McCarron. Do their fortunes change, or would you say Tyler Bray was better than AJ McCarron anyway?
We'll discuss. The show represented by Bankston Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, BankstonJones.com, discussing Tennessee Bama as What the H, brought to you by our fantastic friends at Rick Terry Jewelry Design.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Caleb, I don't think that AJ McCarron, as opposed to any other quarterback, changes Tennessee's past, what would have been their future at the time, because Tennessee had just too much coaching transition at an administrative level and a coaching level. I don't think anything would have changed that. I think you could have had Joe Montana in his prime, or pick whoever. Maybe like a Cam Newton, a guy that's physically gifted, maybe. But I don't think any of these other guys changed the past at all.
Okay, so, but do you think with this level of aggressive recruiting by Lane Kiffin, is this more proof to you he would have worked out, or is this more proof to you that he would have gotten Tennessee in trouble and flamed out fast?
Now, that's a good question. I think that he would have had success in recruiting and people would have gotten their hopes up and something would have happened off the field.
Okay. Now, since we're comparing the two, who was more reckless off the field, Lane Kiffin or Jeremy Pruitt? Now, we know who's smarter.
How was Jeremy Pruitt reckless?
Sorry?
How was Jeremy Pruitt reckless off the field?
Chick-fil-A cash bags?
Oh, I thought you meant in Alabama. Sorry.
No. Who was more reckless off the field at Tennessee, Lane Kiffin or Jeremy Pruitt?
Now, that's Pruitt, and I don't even think it's close.
I mean, yeah, but Lane Kiffin, had some, co-ed in his car, and we also know that he had a hostess scandal.
Hasn't been completely reported, even though I know more about it than you can imagine. But
it's not like it's all over message boards, Dave. Everybody kind of knew about that, like during the time.
Well, let's go back to recruiting and what we know. Okay, what's been reported. Lane Kiffin took some very questionable characters in recruiting. Agreed.
Agreed.
Like There were more in his one signing class at Tennessee. There were literally more felons than there were all SEC players.
And when we say felons, there might have been as many murderers as overall SEC players.
Yes, I mean there was one for sure murder. That was the biggest one. So I think though that Lane Kiffin, if we want to talk strictly from what's been reported standpoint, he would have had the ability to run those players off. Jeremy Pruitt was in a bad position because when you pay a player, he can flip on you. So you lose all leverage over them on and off the field. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there's a back in the day when you couldn't pay players, there's a pragmatic reason, not an ethical reason, not a rules reason. It's because if you pay a guy, Tennessee had a running back out of the Nashville area. That's a great example. If you pay a guy and things don't go right, he can flip on you and turn you in.
Yes. Yes. No, that's a very good point. That's actually what happened with SMU. And then the reason they got the death penalty is they were on probation, but they had all these players they had promised money to, so they had to keep paying them, basically. And then the NCAA was like, really? We just gave you probation and you're going to keep paying them? Here's the death penalty. Now, if someone brings this up, Lane would have probably gotten Tennessee on probation. Dave, don't you think, though, if you're a Tennessee fan, given how the decade went, that would have been worth it just for the fun of having Lane Kiffin as your coach and still winning games?
It depends. If I was a reporter at the time and I was having to work 70-hour weeks in the offseason covering an NCAA investigation, I would say no. But if I was a talk show host that I am now, I would say absolutely yes.